Alright, so we are continuing our app building. So previously we have created some functions to create and edit the QR codes from outside of Salesforce. Now this is our current QR code, right? Now I want to add a new one. So I have added a new functionality where we can list all available QR code here, and we can create new ones and also delete existing ones. All right. So let's create a new QR tag. My suitcase. Let's display buttons if somebody found it. Please return my suitcase. All right, let's go create it. So we have just created a new QR tag, my suitcase. Please return my suitcase for the greeting text, and the response type is button. So if I go back to my Salesforce and refresh this guy, see, we have a new one, my suitcase, right? We can even sort this by, that's okay. So by QR name, yeah, we can sort this by QR name. So top is the new one. So next, let's try editing this one. My suitcase tag. And then we can change this to a call forward to our phone number 555-1234. For example, I'm going to update this. As you can see, this is updated as well as in Salesforce. Okay. The greeting text is a call forward is going there. So now let's also delete this suitcase tag. And this should be deleted and on Salesforce as well. So that's pretty much it, our addition. So what are the codes for this? Before we go to the PHP part, I want to also show you the console, developer console. So we have created a few modifications on here, especially for the HTTP GET method. Previously, we have just one, which is just getting the QR details of one QR or one record, right? But because we have this list functionality, right? This list functionality, which is listing all of the available QR for the logged in account, we want to get everything that's available. So basically our SOCL changes a bit, and I changed this to a list now. Here, this is a list now, a list of the object IQRC, right? Same thing here is a list now, and this is also a list. So if the IQR ID starts with 001, then do this SOCL. If it doesn't start with 001, then basically do the same SOCL as previously, which is just getting the one particular record. But if it starts with 001, which is the account ID, get all the QRs for that particular account. Pretty straightforward, right? So here's how it looks on the PHP side. So right now, we are hard coding the account ID here. This is the account ID, which is we have from the account on my test account here, Jimmy Tanzil, right? So I just grab this account ID up top here, and I put that and hard coded that for this development example or demo, put it there. Basically, we are only working on Jimmy Tanzil account ID. But after this, we will also create a account sign up and account login functions where we can dynamically assign or create new accounts and get the appropriate account ID. Okay, so with that being said, if the action is list, if I go back to my PHP here, if the action is list, or here if I click this, the action is list, right? List all the QR codes. So that basically on the PHP side, we want to list all the available QR. So if the action is list, let's crank this up a bit. If the action is list, then you want to get this detail of the QR and pass the account ID, not the QR record ID, but the account ID, which always start with 001. So Salesforce account IDs always start with 001. So with that being said, if what is being passed is starting with 001, then do the socle. Okay? If not, do the other socle, which is basically just grabbing the particular record ID. Alright? So that's the difference. So that's how you list the available QR codes on the particular account. So same thing with delete. Delete, basically I separate the files here. So if delete record, we will do include delete.php. Edit, if edit record, we are going to include the edit.php. If we are creating new QR code, we are including the new PHP. So these three files are basically almost the same. The delete will define what needs to be deleted. So the ID would be the delete record ID, which will be passed from here. If you hover over delete there, you can see delete record at the bottom, right? So if I copy this, I'm not going to click that. If I copy that, not the actual file, the link, copy a link address, see delete record, that, right? So that is the delete record, which will be passed through the PHP from the main file. It will be captured from this variable delete record, and if delete record exists, which is being passed, we are going to include the delete.php, which is this, and is going to call this particular service. So http method equals delete. Okay, so it will go through our URL here, delete record, that will go to the delete part, http delete. Basically we are just going to do a socle where the ID is that ID and then delete that record. So that's it. We've discussed about editing on the previous videos. So let's flip back. We've discussed about editing, we've discussed about deleting, we've discussed about adding a new one, and listing. Okay, so this looks ugly, right? Because right now we are only doing functionality. We haven't played with any styling yet. We will incorporate styling later on. Either we are going to use SLDS or we are going to use Bootstrap or Ionic. I'll think about it. So that's pretty much sums up what we want to do on this video. So we have the delete one here. Okay, the edit part is basically the object, the ID is the edit record, and this is going to be passed here. And for creating new one, you don't need that because it's going to upsert, right? It's the same put method, right? Edit is also put method, but it's passing the ID. And this is going to the absurd the put here, which is going to absurd it. Okay, so if there is an ID being passed, it's going to create a new one. If there is no ID being passed, it's going if there is an ID being passed, it's going to update. If there is no ID being passed, it's going to create a new one, insert a new one. So okay, that's it. Pretty cool, right? So we can, let's make a new one. Let's name this gate or garden gate. It's just going to be buttons, maybe. Click the button to buzz and open the gate. Boom, we have a new one. And if I go to my QRs here, we will also see a new one, garden gate. So that's it. I will see you in the next video where we will create a login functionality and sign up functionality, so we can create new accounts and not just play with Jimmy Tanzil, but you can create new account and play with that. Bada bing, bada boom. Hit that subscribe button and explore new trailhead grounds and learn to implement the most useful and popular apps on the Salesforce App Exchange. And do yourself a favor, like this video, and you'll be surprised on how much more you understand when watching this same video after liking it. Don't take my word. Watch this one more time after you like the video and see it for yourself. Bada bing, bada boom.